Hey folks, today we have another real-time coding challenge. ChatGPT-5 just launched, and we're going to see how it does versus Claude 4.1 Opus. We're going to give each one a single prompt to make a single game, and we're going to do that 3 times. The games will be attempting to make our Tetris in HTML, Flappy Bird in SwiftUI, and Robotron in Pico 8. Let's not waste any time and get straight into making Tetris. So unfortunately, ChatGPT-5 is not available on my computer yet, but I do have it on the app, so I'm going to be running the prompts here, and then I'll open it up on my computer so I can launch whatever programs it's made. So I'll go ahead and I'll copy this first prompt, and I'll paste it into both of them so we can see how long it takes to compile the answer. I'm using ChatGPT-5 Thinking. I think this one will probably be slightly better code, but usually whenever I'm coding with these things, I don't use the thinking models because they're just not as fast, and the amount of time it takes to come back with an answer usually doesn't yield that much better of a response. Depending on how long this ChatGPT one takes, then maybe we might not use the thinking model because it looks like Opus is already spitting out some code. Maybe ChatGPT is doing that in the background and we just don't see it. So the funny thing is, yesterday I just finally decided I'm going to get rid of ChatGPT and I'm going to start just using Claude because I've been using Claude Code recently and it's kind of a game changer. This is the first time I've been using one of these programs that are integrated, similar to how Cursor works. But what I found in Claude Code is, you know what, I'm just going to show you an example because we have to wait for these to compile anyways. Okay, so with Claude Code, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to create a new folder. We'll call it My Site. I'm messing up my layout in here. All right, so I'm just gonna, this is a terminal-based coding thing that I can just CD into this. Then I can type the command Claude since I have it already installed. And it asks if I want to start using Claude in this folder. And now I can tell it things to do. Okay, so, oh God, as I was doing that, Tetris just came up. Well, we're gonna look at Tetris here in a second. All right, I said make an index.html file for a website about the latest coding AI news. Pull from several sources to make it a current up-to-date news site. Here is that My Site folder, and you can see it did end up making our index.html file, and we'll just go ahead and open that, and we have our AI coding news site. I didn't really even look at the source code. I'm not sure where it's pulling this stuff from, but you can see it made a pretty convincing website just from that single prompt inside of Claude Code. It does have some animations and stuff. What do these do? And it is actually jumping to other sections. Okay, so the information is current as of August 2025, so I think this is just static information that it put on the page. That's cool. The point is that you can make stuff inside of Claude Code and it will generate the files for you. You can use files all over your system, and depending on your workflow, that's a really powerful thing. For me, it certainly is. But enough about that. We got a couple more vibe code games to check out. Let's get back onto our Tetris. Okay, you can see how it's putting the Tetris block on the bottom so we can see it. It doesn't really fit into my screen. One cool thing about Claude is if you're doing HTML stuff, then it'll give you the example right here in your browser. But you just click this button and it shows you the raw code. All right, meanwhile over here we have our ChatGPT-5 answer. Let me just see if this is going to work. If I open up a new tab with ChatGPT, I should be able to see that. And yeah, so here's the code that ChatGPT-5 spit out, and you can see that model is not even available here yet. But those models are the same whether you're using them on mobile or if you're using them on desktop. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this as HTML. This is the file that we just got from Claude, and I'm going to open it in my browser. I can hold down to have it go down. You can see it has the ghosting piece. Slide that in. I mean, ideally the ghosting piece would be lighter, but that's something you could easily fix in your next prompt. It shows the preview of what's coming up next. Okay, so that's really good after just the first prompt. And you can see where if we did a few more prompts, we would probably be able to get a finalized version of this that would be totally polished. All right, now let's compare our ChatGPT-5 version. So I'm going to save this into the same file and simply reload the page. Well, is it? All right, trying again. Maybe it's a problem just opening it in Safari. Let's try it in Google Chrome. No, it isn't showing the game surface. So maybe, are we doing something wrong? Let's hit R. Does that restart our game? No. Nothing does anything. Looks pretty. All right, I'm going to try it again without the thinking mode. Maybe this is the wrong course of action, but this is random. You know, they already have benchmarks out for this. This is just like me looking at what it's like to actually code with these. All right, let me see if I can copy this again. There we go, paste it in. And we're running the prompt again. This time we're doing it on ChatGPT-5, that is the not thinking one. So while this is writing out our answer, here's what all is new with ChatGPT-5. It's supposed to have fewer hallucinations, improved coding quality, and it's faster with fewer tokens used. So that means it's going to use up less energy, it's going to use up less of your credits. All of that sounds good. OpenAI is talking about it being better at everything, and it might be better at everything, but you can never really trust the benchmarks that come from these actual companies because they always show how their new model is the latest and greatest that can beat everyone else that is in the competition. And you might be wondering why I'm not using like DeepSeek or Grok against this. All of those are good. These are just happen to be the two ones that I'm paying for. So hopefully this is useful to you. These are like two of the biggest names that people are using in programming right now. But I think Grok is catching up. I don't know if Llama is one that people are using other than for its open source stuff. And Google has put out some models that have like crushed all the benchmarks. So it's still like this leapfrog thing happening. I've just been most comfortable with Claude for coding and ChatGPT for image generation and basically personality stuff. This is Nick from the future. What I'm going to do here is start chopping up the video. It took a little bit longer for ChatGPT-5 to compile out the code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both game examples and put them side by side. That way they're fresh in our minds. So I'm going to open up a new window. We'll go over to ChatGPT. Now open this in our browser. Dudes, what is going on? It's not working. This is a total facepalm from ChatGPT. And a facepalm from me. Type a response. The game isn't rendering the play surface. I'm trying to play this in Safari. Look at him. You're trying to blame it on Safari being Safari? That's kind of true. Let's go ahead and put in our second prompt and we'll start making our Flappy Bird clone. And we're slightly out of sync right now because I'm waiting on ChatGPT to finish the Tetris one, and we're already on Flappy Bird with Claude, but ChatGPT-5 is getting there, but it's just taking its sweet time. All right, Flappy Bird clone is up. Are you done over here? This is still going on Tetris, but who knows? It might be the greatest Tetris clone the world has ever seen. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to copy and paste this Flappy Bird code. Flappy Bird, of course, took the world by storm when it was released. And this is an Xcode project I had already created. We might be able to even just play it in the preview, but I'm kind of doubtful about that. Ooh! Look at that. It's got artwork too. Oh, man. All right, tap to start. It works. Oh, my gosh. Oh, man, I'm so bad at it. See, that part's realistic too, that I'm really bad at it. And see, it has the little lean of the bird lean. You know, I would like to make these graphics look more like the original, but gosh, this is good. Let's get at least to like, all right, we're gonna set a high score of 3, maybe. This is also the reason that this game went viral in the first place, is because it is so hard to play. Gosh, get there, little fella. Oh yeah. Oh gosh, I'm in the zone. Auto zone. All right, that's my high score, 4. Are we still working on Tetris? We're still working on Tetris. So I added our Flappy Bird code here in Xcode, and you can see I've got some errors here. I think these are ones that we can probably solve pretty easily. Like this is inaccessible because it's private, so I can say show that and just remove the word private. All right, let's see what we're trying to do here. Yeah, we have that clamped value, but then we never used it anywhere. We'll see how this goes. It doesn't have a preview, so I'm going to run it in the simulator. Recently, somebody on one of my videos had a comment, and they were saying, don't tell developers that are new developers to use AI coding. It's a terrible way to learn. Well, I disagree with this, because if you think back to the ways that a lot of us learned how to code, it was pulling from a lot of different things. I mean, one of the first places I learned how to code was by watching tutorials on YouTube, and this was like 12 years ago, and at that time, tutorials were just like random. It wasn't like, hey, full ecosystem like it is now. So yeah, if you're just starting out, don't just use AI as your only source of learning to code. Start with stuff small so that you can start to learn how variables work and everything else. Oh my goodness. Who cares what I was saying? We got Flappy Bird to play. Tap to flap. Oh, the animations are good on this one. Oh! Man, it's hard. The pipes are close together. That's something easily we could change with our next prompt. I got to beat that 3 score again. Come on. Yes! AutoZone. Best, I got a 4 on both of them. I'm pleasantly surprised with this one. It looks good, and I like the styling that they did with different things on here. The drop shadows, using different fonts, rounded corners, cool gradients, and the graphics do look better. Well, that's promising. Let's jump over to Pico 8, and we're going to type in the third prompt. All right, so I'm going to create a fresh new chat, paste it in. If you don't know Robotron, it's a classic arcade twin-stick shooter. It's super cool. It came out, I think, in the 80s at some point. If you go by the machine, it's just flashing lights and the sound. It's like sensory overload. But basically, it's a top-down shooter. You're moving your little guy around with one stick, and you're shooting at aliens with the other stick. And you can use them both to shoot independently of the direction you're moving. Now, in Pico 8, I don't think it's going to be like that. By the way, Pico 8 is a fantasy game dev console where you can make games. It has, let me just show you real quick. You have your little code editor right here. You have pixel art you can draw here, a place to draw your backgrounds, somewhere to do sound effects, and a tracker for all the music in your game. It's really cool, and what's also cool about it, where is it? Is if you have one of these retro game consoles, sometimes they'll have Pico 8 launchers in them, and you can actually play the Pico 8 games on the device. So for example, this is a game I made with my daughter. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. Foxy Roxy. We just vibe coded this together in an afternoon. Oh, that's not the jump button. Here's the jump button. You got to collect fish. Anyways, you get the point. Okay, so over here, it looks like the code is done. Let's go full screen for this. Pasting in the code. Now we can run it. Maybe. Run. Okay, so it won't run. A cool thing about Pico 8 is I can actually copy, and it'll copy the error message, and I can paste that straight back into Claude. All right, let's see if it fixed Robotron for us while we're waiting. All right, select it all, delete it, post in the new code, delete the stuff that's up on the top. Boop, 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 and run it. Here we go. We have a game. Oh my gosh. The shooting is really weird. For some reason, the shooting is screen wrapping. Oh, our player can screen wrap. That's cool. The bullets are wacky. Oh! This. Sorry. Woo! Oh, okay, I think I died. No, I didn't. Oh, I have 2 lives left. 6th wave. Kind of a pro at this game I just made. 1 life. Oh, when you get shot, you lose your power-ups. Okay. Woo! There's some things. Now, this is not exactly like Robotron, but it's still fun. Let's try again. Let's do better. Be better. Ideally, we wouldn't be doing this weird shooting where we shoot out to the side, but it's kind of just like a new mechanic. It's like no rational person would ever think of that mechanic. Oh, these are good guys. I want them. So we don't want the red guys. We do want the little people. And also the cool thing is it generated this artwork, which, you know, it's not the most impressive artwork in the world, but it gets the job done, gets the point across. Oh, my people are dying. I just noticed that the good people, they will die if they get hit with these things. There's some good screen shake action, too, whenever you get hit. Add some weight to the game. Okay. Oh, and it's actually keeping the high score on there. Let's beat the high score one time. We got this. Now, some people might see this and think that it's useless slop code. I look at this and I think it's useful slop code. I'm having fun. Yeah. You're having fun. All right, and this one runs as well. You move with the arrows, or you can set, aim, and move with X. So let's try it. Hold the fire. All right, so X is going to be our button. Here we go. Ah. Oh, save the person. Okay, we got that. We got screen wrapping. Our bullets wrap. Nice. All right, got this. There's an upgrade to my weapon, but it disappeared. I'm going to get 2,000 points, then we'll call it. Bleh. There we go. Save the peeps. And this is why I love using Pico 8 with this stuff. As you can see how it has like all this game dev juice to it. And it's made pretty simply. Uh-oh. This dude is like, does not die. Hey, we got 2,000 points. So what do I think? I think it's awesome that there is a new model out there that is right up there with Claude. I think if you use either one of these, you're going to be happy with it. But ultimately, for now, I'm sticking with Claude. I'll need to do more in-depth testing to see what happens. And sometimes if I get caught with Claude, I'll probably jump over to ChatGPT, or I might jump over to DeepSeek or Grok. It's really useful to use a combination of these whenever you get stuck on a coding challenge. And having great models on all the platforms just benefits us all that much more. But what do you all think? That's really what I want to hear down in the comments. Let's have a good conversation about this. If you just want to say that AI coding is bad, you're allowed to say that too. But for me, it's always exciting when new models come out, so keep an eye out for more videos like this in the future. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.